want to thank you for taking your time, Jahad, to sit down and answer a few questions, with us today. I want to get started by asking you, now, one of the things that we know is that you're running for mayor, and you are a very, young man. What made you choose this field right away?
Well, first off, I grew up in the city. I went through the public school system here, and I was always actively involved in the community, whether you're talking about the National Night Out, some of the Memorial Day parades. I did internships with the Euclid Police Department through the Explorers program. So I've always been actively involved in the numerous and countless events in Euclid. One of the things that excites me the most about this city in particular is that it's so diverse. You got middle class, a whole bunch of middle class people, especially at these events, coming together from different walks of life, to try to support one main cause. And that's what excites me the most is the community and the administration togetherness. Then I graduated from Euclid High School not too long ago, actually. So one of the things that kind of swayed me for running for mayor is, some of the things that are going on. And whether we all want to admit it or not, it's tension. It's tension in the city.
Well, can you talk about some of the things that are going on, both good and bad, and what are your plans to fix the bad and enhance the good?
Okay. So we always start off with the good. There's a lot of good things going with our community policing. With our Dunkin' Donuts Coffee with a Cop events. We have our Lakeshore Coffee House events where police officers essentially come out and engage with the community. The problem with those events is that there are only community police officers going to those events. What that means is that there are officers commissioned to just work in the community policing unit and to focus on social media outreach. Those officers are the only ones going to those events. And you talk about good guys like Officer Bonchak, Officer Schubert. Those are good guys that are always actively involved and are assigned to the community policing events. The problem with that is the street officers are not at those events. Okay, sometimes they may stop by, but that's the main thing we need to focus on is getting the officers that are actually out there involved, taking calls, and these events and community outreach. Because what's going on right now is the community police department is being the middleman between the community and the officers out there on the street. And what we need to do, and what I want to focus on, is getting those officers in front of the people and actually doing it the old style of policing, which is community policing, door to door. And that's some of the more things I'll talk about. I'll be meeting with leaders and with some of the people on my team to develop plans to get officers actively involved, and it'll be mandatory as a part of their job to get officers out and involved with the community and to what I say to build the community's relationship stronger, the administration. As I said, I started off with the good things. I support my police department. I need a strong police department to obviously drive the crime out. Without safety, there is no city. Without safety, the citizens are not comfortable. With that being said, there is more training. There's more hiring procedures that I want to put into place. There has been, over the past couple of years, mistreatment to the citizens by some of the people we give badges to. And I think that our police department are forgetting the bearing essentials of policing, which starts with community policing, building rapport with the citizens, and getting to actually know them on a personal level.
All right. Now, Jahad, again, we started this interview off by talking about your age, and with age comes experience. Do you have any experience in the political realm? And if any, could you let us know?
So at the time of being a mayor, I will be in my early 20s at the time of my appointment. No political experience, but I can tell you one thing. I think that any day experience in the city will always be political experience, whether you have your master's, whether you have your doctoral in political science. I genuinely can say that I love the city and I love the people here, and I don't see myself anywhere else. I can say that my drive to make this city a good place to live will beat out anyone's age and experience any day. Like I said, I lived here for about a decade, for most of my whole life. And this is where my family, this is where my friends are. This is where I created myself. And that drives me even more to help make this place safer for the citizens. And not only that, I want my officers to be comfortable being able to do their job as well.
What plans do you have, if any, for entrepreneurs that are looking to move into the city of Euclid?
Okay. I don't want to kind of formulate too much right now, but I am currently working with small businesses such as barbershop owners to try to bring in more revenue for our small businesses. A lot of the times with Euclid, you see a lot of small businesses coming in and moving very fast, even within a matter of months. And I've talked to some small business owners, and the reason for that is just because of the revenue. Honestly, the money that's coming into the businesses. So I want to try to pay more attention to our small businesses, because obviously those businesses run the city really with tax dollars. And you're talking about big companies that power our city, like Lincoln Electric, and now the Amazon plant, are really bringing in money to the city and bringing more attention, which drives more people. And I think with Amazon, thousands and thousands of people we have created thousands and thousands of jobs. So obviously that brings more attention to our city, and not only that, puts money more in the city pocket to do things like with our community policing department. And like I said, there are lots of things that I plan to formulate. I don't want to divulge too much right now because those things are still being put into play, and I'm still having to write out the whole scheme.
All right. Well, how do you see the property value in the city of Euclid right now?
The funny thing is that to be totally honest with you, property value went down as soon as, and honestly to say, as soon as Section 8 came. And I think we all can agree on that. I think property value continues to go down to this day, in my opinion, because of what's going on. I talk to people. I talk to everywhere I go, whether it's Dave's Supermarket, whether I'm going to Wendy's, I stop and I talk to the residents because I want to know what is their input. Anytime I ask a resident, 90% of the time, what is something that you see that is wrong with our community as a homeowner or a renter? And 90% of the time they say the police department and the administration. Okay? Most people don't know that the police department, that will cause the safety of the citizens, that will cause people to leave. Of course. Anytime I talk to anybody, it's something that they complain about. And like I said, don't get me wrong, we gotta have safety. That's one of our most important pieces. And I think that is one of the things that I think will help wanting people to stay more. When you build that relationship, you got people that feel comfortable and confident in the administration. It's a difference in liking and loving where you live. Liking where you live, hey, it's okay, I like it. But loving where you live means I love the administration. I love how actively involved the police department is. And I honestly could say that I wouldn't move anywhere else. That's loving where you live.
All right. JAHAAD, do you mind if we take questions from the audience?
Sure, I don't mind.
Okay, all right. To my left here.
Mr. HEISKELL, what are the things that motivate you most to do what you do?
That's a good question. Once again, thank you for actually asking that. The things that motivate me the most in doing what I want to do is not just having, first-hand experience with some of the problems in our city, but like again I said, because I'm from the city. I'm a product of Euclid. And I genuinely, like I keep saying, care and love the people here. I've always been actively involved. I worked at the Irish American Club. I have first-hand encounters with, our citizens, and I'm able to see some of the things that they want. And me as a citizen, I can gather from that perspective of me all the way from being younger and growing up in this city and experiencing some of the problems. That's what drives me the most. And what else drives me the most is that it's time for change. And the most important thing, I believe, if people don't come out right now to vote and to make change, then you might as well not do nothing. Because right now is a pivotal time for change, and the things I want to implement in the city Like I said, I don't want to go into detail. It's still being formulated. And then I'll divulge one piece right now. One of the things that I'm formulating right now is our community policing log. One thing that I am going to require is that, having got the certain details, that all officers will be required to log a certain time of community policing each month. And they will have to write it on a piece of paper, and they'll also have to communicate with dispatch, so dispatch can log in. Whether this is door to door, whether this is going inside of a restaurant, just interacting with the community, okay? And if any of the officers have a problem with that, then they got into policing for the wrong reasons. Because community policing is the stepping stone to policing in a safer community. And that's what really drives me to do this, is because it's time for change, and I'm going to be the one who does it. Thank you for your question.
We have another question. Go ahead and ask your question.
How are you doing, Mr. Heiskell?
Hey, how are you?
Okay, my question is, I was just wondering, say like if you received like a $10 million grant or something for the city that you can use in any way you wanted to, I was just wondering, what would you do with it and why? What would you do with that money? Like, how would you use it
Okay.
for our city?
Okay. There's a lot of things I would do with that money. That's actually a good question. Number one, I would use some of that money. Again, like my main platform is for the community policing. Investing more money into our community policing unit. And our community policing unit is strong. But we need, like I said again, we need more on-the-hands, on-the-road officers. We need them out there getting involved with our community. Another thing that I wanted to formulate is things for veterans. There's a lot of, I want to try to facilitate taking as much veterans as possible in the city. I've also been working with a couple of people on creating, we call it like a development home for recovering, alcoholics, bringing things in our city and applying, making things available for our residents that will essentially help them. So they don't have to go anywhere else, so they can feel at home here and just, kind of help our citizens and again build that bond with our community and our administration and police.
All right, we have another question over here to the right.
Go ahead.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Okay, I understand that you're more, trying to get the police, together with our people, and I'm just, I agree with that, and I'm just wondering, how do you plan to involve the residents a little more in the decision-making in our town?
Okay, that's actually a good question. So here's a fact. 50,000 people live in Euclid. Only 18,000 people voted last year. That's not even 50% of Euclid's population, okay? And not to mention that the estimated population of Euclid is always lower than what it actually is. You got to put a whole bunch of things into play. How do I get people? How do I get people actively involved? Okay, that's an interesting question. That's a good question. Here's the thing. We go back to the Lakeshore Coffee House, what I was talking about with you, and you go back with Dunkin' Donuts. I think those things are more formulated to get some of the, in all seriousness, the older people involved. You don't see younger people going to the coffee house. You don't see older people sitting in Dunkin' Donuts and having a chat over coffee. And that's all honestly. And you got most of our crime being reported in Euclid is between the ages of 18 and 26. And now even it's going down to younger ages, to 14, to be totally honest with you. So you have to do things that draw those people to come out. Basketball events, things I'm formulating with the LJ Foundation, King of the Courts events that will bring people out. You have a 3-on-3 tournament at the basketball court. Everybody can, we'll have some pops and we'll have, juice, and for every, the community can come together in one place, play basketball, and at halftime or after these events, we have our officers coming out. And remember, not just the community policing unit, street officers. We get them out to those events to interact with the younger kids playing basketball. Because when you match a face with a name, it's always better to, when you establish your rapport with the younger people. So I think that's the biggest thing that's wrong with our community policing unit, is that we draw older people. And, and it's no offense, God bless our older people and our homeowners, but we have to attract everybody. And when we don't attract everybody, I think that makes our citizens feel excluded from the political process as well. It makes them think that their vote won't count. And that's what we want to do. We want to bring them in. I got campaigns now I'm going to do at some apartment buildings and at basketball courts down in Willow and right here on 222nd. So there's a lot of things that I plan to do, and that's just scratching the surface of what I plan, methods I plan to use to get people out.
Here, to my left, go quickly.
How you doing, sir?
Hi, how are you?
One question I have is, what's something like in the past that the council has done that you do not approve with in the last, few years that you don't agree with?
What I don't agree with is most of the time, when a mayor makes a big decision, the mayor often falls back on the council, okay? Because the council are the mayor's advisors. Helps her make her decisions, whether it's from small businesses to policing. One thing I do not agree on is letting officers that are harming others roam the streets. There are plans there are things I'm going to implement that will prevent officers with previous. There's no way, as a mayor of Euclid, I'm hiring an officer who got discharged from Mentor Police Department. There's no way that as a mayor of Euclid, I'm hiring an officer who was diagnosed with PTSD on in my police department. God bless our military, and I was in the military. I appreciate the service, and I love them. But you have to be mentally fit to serve our citizens. And like, for example, situation with an officer who got in a bar fight and who just got discharged from our police department. That could have been prevented. Back a couple of years ago, when he shot his gun out in the lake, and when it came out that they were going to keep him on the police department, but this officer has been diagnosed with PTSD, that is not a reason to go down to the lake and fire your weapon because you were stressed. What do you do when you're in a physical altercation? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to fire off your weapon? So, with that being said, there's things that have been brought up numerous times again to our mayor that she's ignored. And that's why we're having the problems now. That is why. And there's various other situations with an unending list of officers on the department that have had previous encounters and histories, whether it's at our department, our other department, or even outside of work with some of our officers. That is not being handled. And that's the thing. And that's another plan. I plan to tighten up the police force. And like I said, I'm all with the police department. I'm for them 100% because we need safety. But at the same time, we need justice, and I believe in what is right.
All right. JAHAAD, we want to thank you so much for coming out today, and I thank everyone who had a question, who asked JAHAAD. And until the next time we get together, JAHAAD, I want to thank you and wish you well.
Thank you.
On your
Appreciate
journey
it.
for becoming the next mayor of the city of Euclid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.